Speedpaint lie to us?
No, but they probably could have been clearer. Welcome to The Basic Brush. I'm Sam, and in this episode I want to talk to you about Speedpaint. I've been using them now for a couple of weeks, and I painted an entire army using them. I've had a lot of questions where people have been asking me, have you had any problems with reactivation? Well, my entire painting process is in that video, and you can see that I didn't really have it. Apart from when I'm actually using two literal wet paints, it wasn't really a problem. But with enough questions, is a chance for a video. Here, I'm painting a shingle roof. If I was professional, I would have painted one side as contrast and the other as speed paint. But I didn't want my roof to look really weird. So instead, I've painted one shingle roof and one troll. Appropriate considering the troll is a Games Workshop model and contrast is Games Workshop paint. How did I find it? It went on absolutely fine. On both models, the paint sticks nicely. I then went in and I wanted to create another layer of colour. So I painted on a grey, not a white, but a grey on both. I dry brushed this on. There's a little bit of discolouring on the shingle roof. The troll, however, didn't really have any issues. This could just be the light that I'm painting in, but it did look like there was a little bit of movement. I left this for 24 hours and came back and stuck on a second colour. This time it's a yellow on both respectively. I leave this again for 24 hours and I come back to it and I give this a really good test. Painting on little patches of grey, there isn't a massive amount of movement on either of the models. When I go to dampen a brush and start rubbing it onto the shingle roof, nothing has really changed. I don't appear to be removing any paint. When I do it to the wooden beam at the top, there is a little bit, but I would have expected this even with normal acrylics. 24 hours is not a long drying time, and this is a very rough, spiky surface, so to strip off a little bit of paint is totally normal. The troll similarly doesn't do much movement, whether I'm doing it on the raised edges or if I'm doing it on the side of the model. Speed paint and contrast so far seem to be very much the same. At this point, I was so confident in the video that I was going to be able to say, ha, you're all wrong. Speed paint is just as good as contrast. Well, it is as good as contrast, but what happens when I try older models? I picked up this troll that I painted with contrast paint a good 2-3 weeks ago, and I also picked up my models that I did in my Death Guard painting army video. As soon as I apply water onto my Death Guard model, whether it's on the purple, which I thinned, remember, or whether it's on the orange parts, it starts to disintegrate. I even had someone reach out that said that when they were bringing their models from the truck to the shop in the rain, they started to lose paint. Now, I'm sure that probably did happen, but just dripping on water didn't reactivate my paint. Rubbing it with a paintbrush definitely did. There was nothing on the contrast model that changed. But on the Death Guard model, I definitely ended up losing paint. Whether it was on the purple, the orange, the green, all of them started to run when I applied the water. This is after 2 weeks. Why is there this difference? I can't say for sure. Maybe the undercoat that I'm using is better on the shingled roof. Maybe the paints are too thin that I applied onto the Death Guard. But for whatever reason, the speed paint definitely reactivates more than the contrast paint. The question is though, were we lied to when we bought this? I don't think so. They're touted as a single coat. And if I do a single coat and don't use anything else on them, well, they're definitely not going to run. They could be the worst paints in the world and they would not run. However, there is this question of should we known about it before we purchased. Army Painter have commented on all of the videos that criticise speed paint, saying that, well, you're expected to varnish. Is this expected? Is it an accepted practice? I don't do it with my acrylic paints, so it's hard to say if it's an accepted practice or not. In their latest video, they've now made it absolutely clear that when you are painting multiple layers, varnish is required. They are still a great product, and I'm going to make constant use of them. The only reason I'm not getting the Mega Paint set is I've got a baby arriving very shortly. However, if the Army Painter wanted to send me a box to test, I would definitely be all for that. I hope you found this video useful. If you want to know how you can paint with speed paints, check out this video on 5 tips to use speed paints and contrast, or check out this video where I painted an entire army using nothing but speed paints.